And oh my god, melee combat on motorcycle? Go full, I don't know, John Wick, basically. And do like jousting almost, like motorcycle jousting, Cyberpunk style? Okay, that's dope. Cyberpunk 2077. We know this is a game that's had its host of issues at launch, but lately there's definitely been a more hopeful optimism, especially after the release of patch 1.5, which added quite a bit, fixed quite a bit, and made people feel like this is finally starting to feel like the state of the game in which it should have launched in, with still a couple things missing here and there that people would like to see added. And to give you a couple of examples of things that patch 1.5 added or fixed, there is a new and reworked perks system now, with some perks removed or changed. Throwing knives have been overhauled and made viable. Enhanced enemy AI changed. Driving behavior, crowd AI has definitely been enhanced. Cars will actually flee when shot at now. The map has been dramatically improved in its visibility of icons and your ability to sort through them, and you can actually like filter certain map icons however you like it. Fixer gigs have now been reworked to be sort of multi-tiered and multi-layered, and it has like its own progression system now. There are new special rewards that come at the end of those multi-phased gigs. The game economy has been rebalanced. There are new weapons now. There's an option to reject calls now. Small little quality of life things improve the calling system in general. You can change your appearance. There's actually the ability to customize your character after you've created them by using the mirror, which makes a whole lot of sense in a cyberpunk world where modifying your own body is essentially at the heart of its sci-fi elements. There's some new customization options to go with that. You can customize your apartment. There are 4 new apartments that you can actually rent even, and certain interactions give you buffs now, like when you sleep or when you drink coffee and whatnot, among others. They've enhanced your relationship with romanceable characters with more message exchanges between them that allows you to get like a deeper dive into that relationship. So all that stuff's fantastic, definitely welcome. And there are definitely signs that CD Projekt is serious about overhauling this game and ensuring that by the time they're done with it, it's in the quality state and the feature complete state that it should have been at launch. They're positive signs. I'm not going to like hold my breath until I see more, but there are definitely more hopeful signs lately. Even across certain media outlets, the tone has started to shift into something more positive, like this headline from VG247 that reads, Cyberpunk 2077's patches are far more than just small fixes. They're an increasingly impressive overhaul. And I actually do agree with this. While it has taken a bit longer to get certain updates than expected, the fact remains that the updates do seem to be getting more and more substantial, and hopefully this is a role that CD Projekt can keep going. Hopefully this is a streak that they can keep going on until the game really feels very different from what it was at launch. And with expansions still being planned and worked on, there's definitely a lot of room for this game to expand and grow and to evolve to its fullest potential. And one of the things that they really need to add into the game is something that's sorely missing: a better police system and some kind of vehicle combat chase system, as currently the cops will just kind of spawn out of nowhere in the vicinity. Oftentimes you can see them pop up into view out of the blue. And then when you get on your car and start going away, they won't chase you, or they won't even come in via car. They will just spawn out of the blue. And there are no real car chases aside from very select set pieces. And while we wait for what I hope will one day be an official version of this, there is a modder who has actually implemented these features. And although it is a mod and there's some rough edges to it here and there, and you know, it's something that's still being iterated on, what I'm seeing so far already is super impressive and goes to highlight just how sorely this feature is missing in the game. Even in its somewhat rough stages, this mod already feels like it adds so much to the hostility of the world, which is such a big aspect of the cyberpunk world. And I'd like to go ahead and scroll down through this, read some of the features, and then I'll show you the demo video here and skip through important bits. and really highlight how cool this could be when it's officially implemented, or when this mod gets even more enhanced than it's already now. So right here we start with enabling weapons while driving. There was some functionality in the game's code to enable the player to use weapons while driving. It has now mostly been restored. So that really goes to highlight that developers needed more time. They definitely clearly wanted to highlight a better police and crime system and some kind of car chase element, but they had to scrap that and kind of bury it under the game's surface code, if you will, because they just didn't have enough time to flesh that out. And therein lies the unfortunate decision surrounding Cyberpunk 2077, all of its potential robbed by leadership's decision to rush this game out instead of giving it the amount of time that it needed to realize its full ambitions. So what this allows for is equipping and aiming all ranged weapons when driving any vehicle, equipping and using melee weapons when driving any vehicles, use inhalers and injectors while driving even without a weapon equipped. And then that brings us to the police rework, and there's some fascinating stuff here. A decent amount of complexity. Enemies in their respective faction areas, Maelstrom and Northside, Valentinos and Haywood, etc., have a new ability that lets them call for backup. This was a cut ability called Call Reinforcements and has animations and decision making. And here's a really cool bit. A bar similar to uploading a quick hack will appear over their head, so you can see how close the call is to being finished, as well as who's making the call. These can be interrupted by various effects such as sonic shock, EMPs, memory wipe, and knocking the enemy over. So it's not just that you shoot an enemy from a faction and then psychically everyone from that faction is aware of your presence. It actually takes a bit of time for them to issue that backup call, and within that time, there is the possibility of you being able to stop them in their tracks by killing them before that happens, which kind of reminds me of Metal Gear Solid 2, for example, where if you get detected, a guard will seek some kind of cover and then they'll have to radio in, and only once they are able to do that does backup get called in. And in that time frame, you have the chance to either, shoot their radio on their chest, or you can kill them outright before they are able to make that call. And there's just a tension of giving the player the chance of preventing an all-out warning, an all-out alert from nearby enemies, to call for backup and whatnot. And a similar element being added into the game, especially where the policing system or the crime system or where the, faction backup system is concerned, I think that's super dope. It's only once an enemy is finished calling for backup that a star will be added to the system and backup enemies will arrive. These backup enemies will be of their respective faction area. As V stars increase, more difficult enemies arrive and in greater numbers. These backup enemies now arrive in vehicles and will chase the player. So this game not only adds a car chase system and not only adds a better crime and backup system, it actually fuses the two as well, and it paves the road for a feature that I think should have been in the game at launch. There's additional emphasis here on how it's more realistic the way the crime/backup system here works. Attacking cops and killing civilians no longer directly triggers stars, although cops can call for backup in the districts with larger police presence like downtown or North Oak. In the base game, no matter what the context or situation, basically if you shoot a cop or a civilian, you'll immediately get a 1-star, as if there's like a psychic police who keeps track of your every move. It seems as though there are actually conditions that will lead to the triggering of a star that seem more realistic and more reasonable with this mod. And then at 4 stars, max tack will arrive instead of the respective faction of the area. The security turrets will be enabled as well. Militech instead of max tack will arrive in the Badlands. In the base game, there's only one type of max tack enemy. The mod adds 5 others, including a mantis enemy, sniper, shotgunner, heavy, and netrunner. In addition, max tack's stats have been increased and they have new abilities. They now have a special ability that allows them to rapidly regenerate health. So it just makes the max tack enemies feel a lot more dangerous, and with more variety, it makes them feel like, they aren't just a singular type of enemy, but rather there's now varieties of specialities within the max tack enemies on top of their increased health and the regenerative health that actually makes them dangerous and that actually maybe makes you consider avoiding a 4-star crime rating. And finally, it is detailed how all vehicles' HP have been adjusted to make up for this addition of a car chase system. Larger vehicles have more health, nomad vehicles have more health, police vehicles have more health, the Ray, Field, Caliburn, and Arondite have more health, and then certain special vehicles like Delamain and Beast have more health. So basically the vehicles that should have more health and should be more resistive to damage have been adjusted as such. And to close things out, the mod page does acknowledge that there's still plenty of issues and certain janky aspects to this mod that's still being worked on, but for an initial release, this is damn impressive, and it's all the more impressive when you actually look at the footage of this thing running. And while, again, visually you can see that it's still somewhat incomplete, especially given that it's a revival of code that already existed, that was already incomplete, that's then been tweaked a little bit and that's still being worked on, you'll definitely feel like, you know, this isn't the final version of this feature. But even a glimpse of it really gives me hope and optimism that when a feature like this is added, it's really going to make a substantial difference. So here it is. Vehicle combat has come to Cyberpunk 2077. Let's check it out and see the kinds of possibilities the future might hold. So boom, enters vehicle mode and in first person pulls out this weapon. Submachine gun of sorts. Or is it a rifle? Whatever it might be. I mean, this is so cool. Like, obviously you can tell that this is just kind of loosely implemented on the screen. And so it looks a bit floaty, like it doesn't quite match everything else happening on screen to a degree. But this is still like kind of cool and exciting, and obviously a little unwieldy in first person, but very viable, very possible, especially on motorcycle. We'll see cars later. But the streets just seem a lot more exciting, a lot more dangerous when things like this are allowed. When the game enables stuff like this, when it has a mechanic like this. And then, yeah, here you have cars. And for now, we only have first-person view, vehicular car chases and shooting. Or vehicular combat, I should say. But the car chases are definitely there. You can do that in third person, but you probably have to go into first person to be able to shoot. But it's just kind of cool and immersive to be able to just do this. I mean, just shoot through your window. There's only so far you can turn, which makes sense. But you can pull off some cool maneuvers, you know, drift, and kind of land on the side and then pull your gun out and shoot through your side in cool fashion and just, like, pull off some cool stunts. This is super dope. I mean, this really feels like true vehicular combat. Or on top of being able to crash onto enemies and onto enemies' vehicles, you're all the while considering strategically how to position yourself to best be able to shoot your enemies with, well, with your armament. I mean, it's just, it creates like these organic set piece moments almost is what this looks like. Again, stuff like this looks kind of goofy, like a one-handed sniper rifle wielding situation, but like, who cares? It's not about realism, it's just about fun, and this looks fun. Wow, yeah. This really does look like a lot of fun. So these are police officers with a 2-star rating, crime rating so far. I'm sure the player will eventually... Oh, look at that! Wow, yeah, the cops coming in via vehicle. That is what we want. You know, some semblance of illusion that the cops actually have to get to the scene rather than having magical teleportation. It just, it adds a little something extra to the world. It's those like little details that can make all the biggest of differences when it comes to immersion, right? And that's why so many people immediately notice the way the crime system and police spawning works. It's just they subconsciously could very quickly tell, wait, something's off about the way the city reacts to you when you commit a crime. I mean, this is crazy. And look at this right here. Player gets assaulted, steals the vehicle, and begins vehicular combat. And, I mean, in the wastelands here, with these all-terrain cars shooting out of them, and having this, like, Mad Max kind of situation, I don't know, man. This is dope. Like, if this is just a glimpse of what's to come, I am super into this already. Wow, I mean, this looks like it could be like a first-person cutscene from, like a first-person set piece from, like, moments in the campaign, except it all happens organically, and that's what the game lacked. I mean, it feels like a lot of crazy stuff can happen when this is just enabled. Oh man, how this game shipped without this, like, especially looking at it now, it's starting to feel kind of criminal almost. Where they clearly should have delayed the game at least just to add this. That's so cool. And oh my god, melee combat on motorcycle? Go full, I don't know, John Wick basically. And do like jousting almost, like motorcycle jousting, Cyberpunk style? Okay, that's dope. Oh man. Look at, oh, okay. I'm impressed with this. Weapons should definitely do more damage when you're on the motorcycle. You know, you got more speed. Because it's both the swing of your sword and the movement of the vehicle combined. So hopefully there's like a modifier for that, but either way, the fact that you can just kind of go back and forth and deal with gang members this way. Man, if there ever are plans for a third-person mode, it'll go super well with systems like this too. But, you know, in first person, it's pretty damn immersive. I mean, one modder, ladies and gentlemen, or at the very least a team of modders, somehow managed to restore elements of what was kind of left buried by CD Projekt because they didn't have enough time to fully flesh it out. And then they refined it just enough to make it viable in this early stage. Yeah, I hope CD Projekt is taking a close look at that old code and doing their own official version of it, one that melds seamlessly with their game and is added in some kind of future patch. I think that's really going to be the turning point for this game. That's really, I think, the big thing. And that, and maybe also like a metro system of sorts. Those are things that a lot of people tend to point to. But with this kind of chase system and vehicular combat mechanic, if they can like add that in the next big update, I think that's going to generate a lot of waves. And hopefully they can go above and beyond and add things that we didn't even think we wanted in the game and really make this an ultimate single-player experience, and hopefully can be actually a road paved to allow them to redeem the launch of this game and at the very least leave things off on a high note. And hopefully the expansions will be substantial enough that you know, beyond adding new maps and new quests, it'll add some really dope new features and elevate the game's mechanics to new heights, because stuff like this shows there's so much missing from this game, and when all that stuff's added, you can really pave the road to some special kind of fun in the world of Night City. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on the implementation of car chases and just better crime and backup systems based on the video you saw here and based on the mod description, and whether you think CD Projekt will implement something like this on an official capacity down the line, and how good you think the implementation will be, and whether you'd be excited for that. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.